our bodies are designed to move. They're not designed to sit still at one time. I don't have a problem with people being in some crummy positions for a short period of time. Just don't stay there, truly. And the studies they have are coming out every day, talk about the difference that strength training, walking can have on your mental health, but also on all sorts of other systems in your body, from your gut health to it limits your potential for Alzheimer's. It's incredible the different things that we're finding now that activity can make towards your health. But we kind of give ourselves that promise. Okay, I feel like crap today, but I'm going to do 10 minutes, whatever it is. If I still just feel terrible after 10 minutes, I give myself permission to take the day off or to not do that, whatever that is. But after that 10 minutes, normally I start to feel better. And
Me too.
And
Me
so
too.
The discipline of giving myself that 10 minutes, that's a big difference. But we're finding now that you look at our Olympic athletes and how they're continuing to break records and get faster and faster and faster because their training has changed. They're emphasizing more quality efforts over quantity now, so that they're practicing perfection rather than just getting through stuff and having junk. So maybe your goal is 200 perfect draws, but you're at 150 and you're thinking, man, I'm getting tired, I'm getting sloppy. That's time to stop.
If you're new or watching this as a replay, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Please subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Apple iTunes, and anywhere else that you can see me or hear my voice. If you don't want to miss another episode of Defenders Live, you can join our free community at defenders-live.com and become a free subscriber. Lastly, if you're looking for exceptional firearms or self-defense training, go to defenders-usa.com and look at their calendar to see what training is coming to you this year. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Defenders Live. I am your host, Lora Thorson, and tonight I have Joal Miller on the show. Joal Miller is a physical therapist, and if you're interested in shooting and physical fitness, you will want to stay tuned for this interview. We'll be discussing injury prevention and some strength training, especially as it applies to the highly repetitive motion of drawing and shooting a gun that I know many of you practice daily in dry fire. So we're going to talk about ways that you can stay healthy and strong in order to be more prepared as a defender of life. But first, let me introduce Joal. Joal is a physical therapist based in Arizona. He grew up in Washington State near Seattle, and he and his wife decided to move to a drier climate. So they moved to Arizona shortly after he graduated from the University of Puget Sound in 1999. Growing up, Joal loved sports and outdoor activities and later swam competitively in college, where he specialized in the 200-meter butterfly. He continued to be involved in athletics as a recreational cyclist and a triathlete. He opened Santan Physical Therapy in 2006 and continues to provide the highest quality physical therapy through personalized care and education. And in the last 2 years consecutively, his business has been awarded in Best of Queen Creek for physical therapy by People's Choice, which is pretty cool. Joal enjoys getting to know people better and helping them live healthier, more active lives. Looking forward to this interview. So let's welcome Joal Miller onto the show. Hey, Joal.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I've never had anyone in this space on my show before, so I'm kind of excited about it. And I know that you have worked with the founder of Defenders USA, Adam Winch, and that's how we got connected.
Yes, I've worked with him a couple of times, help him be nice and strong and avoid a couple potential surgeries. So yeah.
Yeah, and Adam is one of the best shooters that I know, and most great shooters. Like I said before, there's a lot of repetitive motion involved in that sport, whether it's competitive or you're just a defender and you're very active in dry fire practice. And so that was maybe the first place I wanted to go with this is that repetitive motion of drawing from a holster. Now, when Adam came to you with, I think he had shoulder issues, and I'm sure he doesn't mind us talking about him. I talk about him all the time, but I too have shoulder issues. And I know a lot of shooters that have shoulder issues. And I'm just wondering, is that kind of a no-brainer from a physical therapist point of view that would be something that might be a concern for a shooter?
Absolutely. It is very common with shooters, especially the repetitive motion they're doing drawing from a holster. You have the propensity to overuse part of your shoulder muscles And the ones that aren't getting used as much get a little bit, they don't have the power to keep up with the ones you're overusing, and that imbalance can really lead towards injury.
Yeah. I've also noticed too, not only shoulder, but elbow. I don't know if I got it from shooting, but shooting definitely made it worse. Tendonitis and elbows. Is that something you see commonly? And what other things do you see commonly in shooters?
Very common to see the elbow just from the way you're gripping things, especially if you're not gripping it properly, where you really need to have somebody look at your technique for that. But so shout out for Adam for that. Makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
The shoulder, like you said, I see a lot of neck pain from shooting and lower back pain because you're having to do an awful lot of bracing in order to be in that stationary position and try and stay true down the line. Right.
That's true. And so I've noticed, and I don't know if you commonly see this or you can help define it for me because you know all the technical terminology for everything and I don't. But I noticed that after a long day of shooting, there are these muscles in the back of my shoulder that tend to wear out. And I wonder if it's because I've not strengthened them enough. And if they're not typically a muscle that's well used back there, I don't know what that is. Yeah. But can you speak to that?
That's absolutely true. That more often than not, that tightness and discomfort in there is because they're weak. They're not strong enough to handle the load that you put on them. It's one thing for them to get tired and tight after a hard workout, but that should dissipate fairly quickly. If it's sticking with you, it means that those muscles just aren't up to the amount of load you're putting in them. More often, and interesting, we're finding out more in studies now that when people are complaining of really tight muscles and boy, I really need to stretch this out, it's more often than not because that muscle doesn't have enough power for what you're doing during the day, and it's tightening up on its own to try and create that stability.
So probably then strengthening, purposeful strengthening of those particular muscles might be a wise thing to consider.
Absolutely, particularly in that upper back area. Most of the things we do during the day, whether it's computer work or building widgets or holding that gun out in front of you, is all in front. So those muscles in that chest and front part of your body are used quite a bit more often than the ones in the back. And when we go to the gym, they aren't the impress your mate muscles. So people don't work those out as often as they do the chest and the biceps.
So what are those, first of all, do you know the names of any of those in the back there? What are those called? And can you tell us any ways that we could keep those strong or maybe do something more, can't think of the word, Joel, specific for those muscle groups to keep them strong so that we don't have that fatigue at the end of the day?
I think one of the keys you said is muscle groups. There's a whole slew of muscles back there. But we don't need to list them all. But, it's the muscle groups that are more important. Some of the ones that will help stabilize that shoulder blade so that it can hold steady when you're trying to hold that firearm out, or when you're trying to draw that pistol out. You want that anchor to be nice and solid. You want to have that solid oak tree back there. So when the wind's blowing, that tree isn't doing this, which means you're going to be holding things all over the place. You can't be steady, and that movement, unless it's intentional, can cause to some of the rubbing in that shoulder joint and cause pinching in there. So there's muscle groups back there that we want to target to get stronger. And to give you an idea of some of those exercises, what might be beneficial before injury, I'd be happy to make a couple of videos for you and send them to you so we can let the audience have a few ideas on some things to. Yeah.
So Joel has volunteered to make us videos about the things we talk about tonight. And I'm going to link those in the description underneath the show so that as we speak on those, you can pause and go to those videos and watch them or watch them after the show so that you actually have some kind of reference, a demo, and an explanation of what we're actually talking about. Just was your idea. So that's genius. That's really generous on your part too. I really appreciate that. So you're going to create something where you're going to talk about those muscle groups in the back of kind of like, would that be the shoulder or high back area? Which all ties in with the neck, I assume.
It does. Your neck and your upper back muscles actually communicate all the time. They're very intertwined. We can anatomically separate them, but functionally they work together.
Yeah. So, and I imagine as a society in general who sits a lot at computers, who scrolls a lot on social media, and there are stats to prove this, whether you want to admit it or not. I imagine that frontward, shoulder forward posture is something you prominently see. And I would also imagine that as a shooter and as an instructor, I see this a lot too, that postural stability, as we know, many of us know in the industry, is vital to being a good shooter. Mm-hmm. You're talking about that trunk and that foundation. And I think sometimes that's often overlooked. The foundation of our overall strength of our body. And I've heard people say that you don't shoot a gun with your arms and your hands, you shoot a gun with your whole body. Right. And I think that's the more holistic approach, that I would like to take with the audience tonight, with your expertise in how do we create that holistic approach when we look at, and each one of us are different, but is that a common thing with the posture as a whole? And are there things we can do to improve that as well?
Well, you're seeing that all over the place, more and more and more. Just the amount of time we spend on computers compared to what we used to do. You walk through Walmart, Target, Costco, and take a look at body postures around you. And most people are going to be in that hunched over, forward head, rounded shoulder position.
I'm one of those people.
We spend so much time there all day.
Yeah.
Ways to combat that. And this really plays into shooting, but just things in general. We talked about that upper back strengthening and that core strengthening. It makes a huge difference for all of that.
Okay.
The amount of time we spend on the computer, our bodies are designed to move. They're not designed to sit still at one time. I don't have a problem with people being in some crummy positions for a short period of time. Just don't stay there.
Yeah.
And we're not designed to sit up like this with the book on your head posture either. Right. That was, for a long time, that's what we preached. You have to sit like this all the time. That's not best practice either. So we want to change positions. That change in position lubricates all of your joints and uses your muscles differently. It brings a bunch of nutrients in there. So your joints are healthier throughout the day by having that movement. Yeah. Every half an hour to an hour, try and get up and do a lap around your computer desk. It just takes 10 seconds to change what's going on in your body. And that makes a big difference for the health of your posture and joints over time.
I think it's a huge component to mental health too, honestly. It's all tied together. Yeah. And for me, there are times where I just have to get up and walk away, and it doesn't take very long. Go out in the sunshine, get some fresh air, take a short walk. It will make a huge difference to your day. For me anyway, it does.
Truly. And the studies they have are coming out every day, talk about the difference that strength training, walking can have on your mental health, but also on all sorts of other systems in your body, from your gut health to it limits your potential for Alzheimer's. It's incredible the different things that we're finding now that activity can make towards your health in general.
And it doesn't take, you don't have to be in the gym 2 hours a day. Like, it's just little things you can add to your daily habits. I think that honestly, sometimes you don't realize it, but they make the most difference if you're consistent. So
truly.
Yeah. And it's, it's so funny is that it can be that simple. And yet a lot of people still don't do it, so.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is you'll find that if you can kind of get started on that path with that working out, that walking and whatnot, it actually creates more energy in your system and it's easier to do it. So the first couple steps can get you down that right path.
Right. That's why, okay, you don't know this, Joel, but that ties in perfectly. I have a tagline called "Put Your Shoes On," and I was interviewed by another person, a mentor of mine, who was a guest on my show. We flipped scripts, and he interviewed me. And one of the things he asked me was, "How did you get momentum to keep going every day?" Like, I was speaking on motivation versus discipline. And when I finally figured out the key component to living a better life for me was actually discipline and not motivation, because motivation wanes, right? But discipline, it means that you're doing the thing you're supposed to do, whether you want to do it or not. And for me, the only way that I could get that momentum was, instead of looking at the big mountain that I had in front of me, I had to look at just what was in front of me right now. And for me, some days I had such little motivation. It was, Lora, put your shoes on.
Absolutely.
I can put my shoes on. And once I got my shoes on and I got dressed for the gym, I was already dressed for the gym. So I guess I'm going to the gym now, right? So
that's right.
Yeah, that was something that helped me.
I love that. My wife and I, along a similar path, have, our motivation wanes. We work long hours just like the rest of the audience does. But we kind of give ourselves that promise. Okay, I feel like crap today, but I'm going to do 10 minutes, whatever it is. If I still just feel terrible after 10 minutes, I give myself permission to take the day off or to not do that, whatever that is. But after that 10 minutes, normally I start to feel better and I'll power through.
Me too.
And
Me
so
too.
the discipline of giving myself the 10 minutes makes a big difference.
Yep, I totally agree with you on that. And I have never left a workout and thought to myself, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I've literally never done that. And that's probably because I haven't gotten really hurt or anything during my workout yet.
Right.
But I haven't found one yet where I regretted doing it. I'm always glad that I did it. And so there's a lot to that. So we kind of got off on a tangent there, and that's okay. But I think that this is just a question for me personally, because I've struggled with tendonitis for years and years and years. I do know the way I grip the gun might have something to do with that. But I'm wondering, I've noticed tendonitis in other areas too when I'm doing especially like push presses, incline push presses, do it. Chest flies definitely tax my shoulder and my elbow, which are two of my main pain points. So that's why I keep coming back to that. I can't be the only one in the shooting industry that has shoulder and elbow issues. So that's why I'm like, there's got to be other people that maybe want to know the answer to this as well. And I don't really know, other than just being careful, continuing to build strength, but being careful about it and listening to my body, what I can really do. Is tendonitis something you can even cure, or is it something you just live with for the rest of your life and manage?
Tendonitis is absolutely something you can cure.
Really?
But it takes, once it gets started in there, it takes some intentional effort. And often you might need to see a specialist, like a physical therapist.
Like you.
Like me. There are different ways to approach getting after it, but doing the right exercises can make a big difference. And depending on where the tendonitis is, you want to make sure you have a good examination in there, because some tendinitises seem like one thing, but they're really coming from something else.
Really?
So you could be doing all the right stuff for tennis elbow, for instance, which I think is kind of what you're alluding to, that pain on the side of the elbow. But it might be sourced from somewhere closer up to your shoulder.
No kidding.
So if we don't check that out and make sure that's not part of the problem, you may never get rid of it because we haven't found the ultimate source of the pain. So getting a good quality examination can make a big difference on curing the tendonitis.
How often do people come see you with a pain in one place and you identify it's actually sourced from a different area?
All the time.
Very common.
Very common. Yeah. There's a lot of structures in our bodies that have referral patterns that move away from that site. So it's quite common.
Huh. Well, that's new to me. And that just made me realize I have neck issues, shoulder issues, and elbow issues, and that's all connected. So I bet.
All connected. So there may be something up here in this upper back area for you that's causing some of that pain up to the neck and going down the elbow. Could be up in the neck, going all the way down the elbow. There's stuff in the upper back, under the shoulder blade that can refer to both places. You just need a great exam. I
do. Have you ever noticed that that pain in those areas could also somehow be tied into the jaw if they have jaw pain? Is that a possibility?
Sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Some of those muscles that run on the top of the shoulder run up the side of your neck and connect into this jaw area.
Wow.
Some of the nerve bundles run outside of your neck through these muscle groups as well. So if they get trapped here, they can refer down and cause some pain in that elbow and pain in that jaw area. So would it make sense for you to describe any preventative measures pertaining to the particular areas of the body that we've already kind of looked at? Absolutely.
And then maybe create a little bit, I don't want you to create a whole series of videos, but if it's helpful to the audience, but can you describe just some of the preventative measures you would recommend for someone who particularly shoots a lot, who might have some of these common problems? So
the first thing is load management. Try not to think about, hey, I'm trying to get 20 or 200 repetitions today.
Tell Adam Winch that, would you please?
But we've had this discussion.
Okay. Adam, if you're listening, you need to pay attention to what Joel's saying. So it's quality over quantity. For years, people have grown up with the thought, I have to do just a gazillion efforts to get this right and be to the best out there. But we're finding now that you look at our Olympic athletes and how they're continuing to break records and get faster and faster and faster because their training has changed. They're emphasizing more quality efforts over quantity now, so that they're practicing perfection rather than just getting through stuff and having junk. So maybe your goal is 200 perfect draws, but you're at 150 and you're thinking, man, I'm getting tired, I'm getting sloppy. That's time to stop.
When you get tired and a little sloppy in there, that's when you're more apt to create some injury in there. You're more likely to create some tendonitis, some impingement, potentially pinch some nerves in there, because you're using other things to compensate for the weak muscles in there.
So that's a lot of like when you do weightlifting, you're supposed to stop. Failure is when your form is no longer good, not when you can no longer get the weight up, right? Same concept is what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. So quality over quantity. Okay.
Over quantity.
There's some people that need to hear that out there. I just know it. Yeah. There are some hardcore dry fire people out there for sure.
And I have to remind myself of that at times too. So, but that makes a big difference. Knowing that it's okay to have a rest day, do something else for a day.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to load management too. If you're trying to get your 200 in every single day, there might be more than those tissues are ready to handle. In fact, you mentioned tendonitis. Tendonitis really is an indication that you've had too much load on that tissue. It means you've overdone it.
No way, not me.
No, none of us.
Yeah. Okay.
So sometimes you can come back and be more effective at what you're doing if you have a day off here and there. Let those muscles heal, let them rest. Do some cross training, something else. And then it's really important as far as the shoulder goes, shoulder, elbow, arm, to do a lot of stability training in there. And that's where I can maybe put a couple ideas down in a video. The stability training makes a huge difference. The more proximal strength you have, and by proximal, distal is something far away. Distal, proximal means close by. So in this core, meaning your upper back, your lower back, your mid back, your hips, and the back side of your shoulder, the more you can strengthen them, the more control you have when your arms are away from your body. So when you're reaching, you're lifting, you're pulling, the more strength you have up here, the more you can do this stuff with control and intention without risking injury.
And what kind of exercises are those? Are those compound exercises or are they isolated? Okay.
Yeah. Which is nice because you can hit more than one area at one time. So
they all have to work together anyway, right? So
they do, yeah. So you're more effective when you have an exercise that has multiple directions and angles to it.
So would an example of that perhaps be like a kettlebell swing?
Kettlebell swing, absolutely.
Hey guys, I want to offer you something that is a personal touch, something special that I can share with you to help you grow and develop along this journey in this path as a defender. And what I'm offering is a monthly live call that you can participate in. And we're going to be talking about the 4 areas that I believe all defenders of life should be strong in. And those are physical fitness, emotional fitness, spiritual fitness, and training. So if you're interested in learning about those things and developing yourself throughout that journey, I'm here to help you. And I want my paid subscribers to have that personal touch of getting to talk with me one-on-one in this group call and sharing with others and encouraging others along this path. So if you'd like to get in on those calls, go to defenders-live.com, become a paid subscriber. I cannot wait to see you there. And thank you so much for your support of Defenders Live.
Boy, one of my favorite exercises for shoulder, backs, and hips is a bird dog.
Oh, okay.
And you can there's different ways to add resistance to that, but it requires a lot of stability to do that properly.
Yeah. I have not done that with weight.
Planks. Who doesn't like
planks?
Me, I don't like them, but they're a great exercise. And there's ways to do that to enhance your shoulder stability too. You can even get some furniture sliders and be moving things out while you're holding that plank position.
That's painful just to listen to that. Okay. Okay. So I have a question then, because I do elbow planks and I do high planks, and I'm wondering what the difference is as far as what's being targeted in, or what's being taxed the most, I guess, perhaps. It feels like when I do the high planks, my shoulders are taxed more than when I'm doing elbow.
It's a level up.
High planks are leveling up from elbow?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about on your hands there.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, arms straight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So it's just another version level up. So is there one after that? Because I'm a little scared now. Would that be with my feet elevated? I'm not sure.
Sure, yeah. Then you do jumping jacks with off your planks. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't.
That's where you can start adding the sliders in. You could put like a foam mat under your hands, so you have a surface that's a little less stable.
Okay.
In there, you can move your feet position a little bit. Mm-hmm. Start moving into side planks. Which moves a little differently. But that's also an outstanding exercise for your back, hips, and shoulders.
Narrow feet or wide feet? Narrow's harder, or
correct. Narrow's harder.
Narrow is harder than wide. So there are a lot of different variations people can do. If someone just wants to get started with that, would you say like beginner's 30-second plank to start with, or?
You're looking for form on this. So
right. Okay. There you go. Back to the quality.
Quality over quantity.
Okay.
Don't target the 30 seconds if it's junk.
Thanks for correcting me, Joel.
Yeah. So you want to look so that your hips and back and shoulders are all in a line. So we're not seeing the huge sway back in there.
Right.
If you can't hold that straight line, we need to find a different exercise for you rather than the plank. I love the planks. I hate the planks, but we want to make sure we have a good position for it. And another way you could do that rather than going feet and hands or feet and elbows is you could start on your knees too. And sometimes that's a more basic version of that exercise to get started.
Okay. Could I go off on another tangent real quick?
Sure.
I have a question because I don't get to talk to people that know all the time. And I've always wondered, I've watched lots of different videos and I don't always believe everything I hear on the internet. So I wonder what your opinion is on this. I've been told, and I don't know if it's true, that when I'm trying to get to a full-blown push-up, rather than starting with knee push-ups, I should start with an elevated push-up, like on the stairs or something like that, and then slowly move my way down. Is that a better technique than starting on your knees and then trying to work to a full push-up?
They both can be effective.
Okay.
It's just a different way of trying to build you up. So using a staircase, depending on your fitness level, just even on a countertop or a wall can be a way to start that off. Yeah. But it's a good way.
So anything you're doing is better than nothing is what you're saying. Yeah. Just do something and you will increase your strength over time and eventually, hit your goals.
I think we overcomplicate it too much.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Movement
and I
is
can
good.
see that anyway. Movement is good. Just move.
Movement is good. Just move.
Yeah.
Just start walking. After you start walking, maybe every 10 minutes you do a couple partial squats. I mean, you can add those in. You're just leveling up. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to have any specific footwear. You don't have to have the perfect technique or number count or things like that. Just get started.
Yeah. That's great. I appreciate that. So on the preventative measures, you said load is important, quality over quantity.
Yes.
Make sure you're taking a rest day. Rest days are important.
Yeah, especially as we get older. I hate to say that, but our bodies need a little more recovery.
Yeah. And so listen to your body probably is a subset of that.
Which kind of feeds into listen to your body. I think there's 3 things how we tend to manage our workouts and our injuries here.
Yeah.
And I like to tell people the first stage in something going on with your body is you ignore it, right?
Ignore it and hope it goes away.
Yeah, we do that a lot of ways, right? We ignore it. We think, gosh, my parents had whatever pain it is, or my coworkers had whatever pain it is. I'm going to it's just going to be what it is, and I'll just power through.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be the case. Sometimes just taking a rest day, getting in with a good coach, like you, Laura, or Adam, saying, okay, what am I doing wrong here that's causing this to creep up and be uncomfortable? And there might be some technique things they can fix. But the second phase on that is we mask it. Yeah. We cover it up with ibuprofen or Tylenol or icy hot or some of those things that are out there. There's a lot of ways that gets a little more severe. We cover it up with opioids, but we're not getting to the root cause of the problem. And maybe we go down the road and we cover it up with steroids. That doesn't always fix things either. There's pros and cons to steroids. So want to be careful that as you move through those phases, you can ignore it and then mask it, that we quickly move into the handle it. That means let's find the source of the problem and find a directed solution before it gets bad. And then you're taking time out from your shooting skills and hopefully not having to go down surgery route, because that typically means you're out for several months.
Yeah, that's really good. Those are all really good points. And I'm sure many people can relate to those 3 phases. I know I can. Yeah. And even though I'm hard on Adam and I joke about, he just won't stop ever. That's just how he's wired. And I admire that about him, but it's a double-edged sword sometimes, So yeah, for sure.
Like he's put a lot of work into creating some of that strength and stability there to protect himself through his heavy routine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Kudos to him for that. And he's, inspired me to do that as well. And that's why I am by default trying to inspire other people too, because it has improved my game so much to really focus on and be intentional with my physical health, not only in the gym, but what I put in my mouth and what I listen to, taking breaks, the mental health aspect of it, all of it matters, and it all goes together. So
I agree. I heard someone at one point say that your mental health and your fitness is like your retirement account. So as you kind of do some of these things that are a little healthier for you, it's going to make a huge difference for you down the line. It's like saving money, your ability to have a quality health span as you age. These things all make a huge difference to you.
Totally. And, not only quality of life, but length of life, being around longer, being able to enjoy your family and being there for them. Those are all important to me. And I know for everybody, there's a little bit different angle or purpose as to why they want to be able to do what they need to do, because we all, a lot of us really enjoy shooting. It's fun. And we want to be able to enjoy that, for a long time. That reminds me of something. Oftentimes in class, I get a lot of women in my classes, and I really enjoy working with women. But one of the very common things that I see in women is a lot of problems with pulling the trigger, not a lot of hand strength, grip strength. And oftentimes I see a lot of arthritis too. I hear a lot of joint pain issues. I don't know if you want to get into that, if there's anything that you can share that would be helpful for anybody that's struggling with that right now, but I do see that quite frequently.
Yeah. And that's common across the population. As we get older, it's a natural aging process. We all get it. We're all going to get it. Some people will get it more severely than others. There's a variety of factors and why that can be. And what arthritis really is kind of a loss of the cushioning at the ends of our bones. And so as that cushion wears away, you're more apt to get some rubbing between different tissues, and that creates inflammation. When that inflammation process, when it's there and really going, that's what causes a lot of the pain in there. You can have arthritis in there without pain if it's not inflamed.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
If it's not inflamed. So targeting the inflammation. Okay. How do we do that?
Right. So there's a lot of ways we can do that. Movement is good for it. Movement is healthy for it. We're finding now that the more you use it, the longer you use it, the longer you can keep it. That goes for your hands. It goes for your knees, your hips, your shoulders. We don't do joint replacements as much in hands, but we certainly do in the knees and hips quite a bit, and the shoulders. The longer you keep using them, the healthier they will be, and the longer you will keep that joint. Which the longer you keep that, the better it is for you in a lot of ways. But so I encourage movement. Keep using it. You're going to have some sore days. That's okay. Keep using it. Then we have to kind of step back and say, okay, load management. If you're becoming really arthritic, you can overdo it, but keep moving it, keep using it. If you stop and just, hey, I can't do anything anymore because I'm getting arthritic, that's really going to serve you in a poor fashion down the road. So keep moving, keep yourself strong. The stronger you are, the less your joints have to work when you're doing something. So get in there and start lifting those weights. It doesn't have to be, you mentioned earlier, we don't have to be in the gym for 2 hours a day.
Right.
You can find some simple things to do, 20 to 30 minutes. There's lots of ways we can do that to make yourself a little healthier. It's consistency over time that makes the biggest difference, not the intensity. Then outside of that, there are most arthritic joints respond really well to heat. So using a heating pad, hot baths, hot water soaks, that can help soothe some of that. There are several creams and gels out there that can be really helpful for people. Voltaren is an over-the-counter arthritic cream that many people find some luck with to ease some of that discomfort. There are your CBD creams. They can be very helpful as well. You have to be careful where you get those from because CBD comes from a field that's not regulated here in the U.S. So you want to be looking for a quality product that is being third-party tested, and or even something that's being used by major hospital groups for research. Then you know you have a pretty good product there. But many of my clients have a lot of success in reducing their arthritic pain by using those two products. There are also some anti-inflammatory medications that you can take, which I would encourage you to talk to your physician about.
And what about anti-inflammatory foods? Are there any nutritional aspects?
Absolutely.
Okay. There
are all sorts of things to go for that. You can talk to a nutritionist, dietitian. although I have some knowledge of that, that's not my scope of practice. So I have to be a little careful about what I prescribe there. But eating, generally speaking, a nutritious, nutrient-dense diet, avoid the fried foods, limit your alcohol, limit your sugars. Doesn't mean don't do it, but moderation. And then if you really need a more specific diet, then I would encourage you to talk to a nutritionist or even a dietitian. Dietitians have extensive education in nutrition type prescriptions. So if you really want an expert, I would go that route.
Do you often work with other people in those fields to put together programs for people to help them?
I love it when I can. I think it creates a much quicker path to resolving whatever issues we're dealing with. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wondered about that. You mentioned heat is good for arthritis. One of the topics we were going to discuss was if you have an injury, when to use heat and when to use ice, and what's the protocol there. I think that's something many people aren't sure about. Could you explain that?
Yeah, and I get that question all the time. My thought on that is, first of all, don't overcomplicate it.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. If you have a sore shoulder and you put some ice on it and your shoulder loves it and it feels better, keep using ice. If it doesn't like it, put some heat on it. If your shoulder loves the heat, put some heat on it. That's the way to go. Just keep it simple.
That's it?
That's it. There are a long time, for many years, we've preached, I have pain in my shoulder. I have inflammation. I've got tendonitis, whatever. I have to use ice. That was the way to go. But research now is starting to show that that's not actually the case, that ice isn't helping much with that inflammation process or swelling.
No kidding.
Outside of some specific parameters. So I would keep it simple.
Listen to your body. What a concept.
Yeah.
Okay. This might not have anything to do with that, but it popped in my head. I'm going to ask you, maybe you don't know, no idea. But I will fully admit I've watched the CrossFit Games a few times. And I see these athletes, and of course, they're at the highest level, so I understand that. But as soon as they're done with the competition, they go into an ice bath, like up to their chin in an ice bath. So they're not injured. So what are they doing? Why are they doing it? And why is it effective, whatever they're doing?
So at that, if you can get into some extreme colds, we're finding that can have a better chance of reducing the inflammation in there. The main thing for ice, though, is it really is a great pain reliever. It's an analgesic. It helps numb you up, relieve some of that discomfort in there.
Is that why they're going in the ice bath?
Yeah, there's a number of things that they can get.
Okay. I always wondered that.
For most of us, just throwing an ice pack on something isn't doing quite what we've been told for years. So use it to numb it up. If that feels good, great. If I generally lean towards the heat, I think that most people feel better with that. So I start with that first, but whatever feels better. So, if you have access to those ice baths or these extreme chiller, you can go to these places and they really cool it off for you in there. There are some benefits to that. There's some research to show that can be the case, but that's not accessible to most people. So
yeah, right. That was just an off-the-wall question. Sometimes things just pop in my head, Joel, as you've probably figured out by now. I think we kind of talked about overall strengthening because you talked about stability training and that being really important. We talked about a couple of exercises for that, kettlebell swings and planks. And you guys can Google, if you don't know what those are, you can Google that. And
absolutely.
Yeah. Exercises to keep us in condition for the repetitive motions of drawing a gun. Like what muscles are used? I mean, I'm assuming it's shoulder, mostly neck, and this area right here. When we have something extended way out in front of us for a lengthy period of time, or we're doing the motion over and over again, am I right to think that it's right here mostly, or am I missing the other things connected?
Boy, the body's a big chain of muscles that work together. So
right.
You have the muscles in the front of your shoulders holding your weapon up. You've got your chest muscles holding that up. You've got your back muscles trying to hold your arm steady.
Right.
You've got your core muscles trying to hold your body from tipping over because that weight's out in front of you.
Right.
If you're trying to maintain a certain stance, your hip muscles and your ankle muscles, and I mean, we can go all the way down the chain there.
It's everything, isn't it?
It's everything. And I'll tell you, I think outside of technique, having proper form, the one thing you can do to improve your accuracy more than anything is to work on some stability control in that core.
Yeah.
Because you'll be able to hold things steadier longer.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it over and over on the range. It's very obvious, especially after a few hours on the range. It starts to become very clear the people who are struggling. And I've often thought to myself that there's not enough credence given to overall strength training or the way that the body operates as a whole when you're shooting, and how when certain things are weak, it starts to show up as
Yes.
you continually repeat that motion over and over and start to get tired. All those weak spots start to show up, and that affects that shooting. And I've seen it over and over on the range. And I realize not everybody, is that we're all at different levels or a different paths, different ages, experience levels, everything. So there are so many variables and so many factors to consider. But, at the end of the day, again, I just keep going back to this holistic approach. It's an all body exercise. And the stronger I think that a person is overall, the better chance that you're going to have at being a good shooter at the end of the day.
I agree. And the longer you'll be able to enjoy the sport as well.
True. Yeah, for sure. I think we covered almost all the topics that I had on my list. Was there anything that we missed, Joel, that you wanted to bring up specifically?
Boy, I think we covered everything that I had in mind, but
really?
If there's something else, I'd be happy to follow up.
Well, I keep going back to, and I don't know why, but I keep going back to that stability training. There are a lot of exercises when I've been in Adam Winch's classes where he has had us move. We've had to pivot. We've had to sprint one way, stop, pivot, turn the other way, and there was a lot of, and those are in some of his more advanced classes, obviously. Right. Those aren't the beginner classes, but I do recall some of that. And I think as shooters, especially for defenders of life, we have to remember that if we do come across a self-defense encounter, we get ourselves in a position where we have no choice but to use our gun, which is what we want to avoid at all costs if we can. The best situation we can get ourselves into is that we can escape and run away from whatever is happening so that we can avoid it at all costs. And I would just argue with you guys, I would just stress that, again, that's going back to that overall stability in your body, your overall strength, your physical conditioning. Some cardio probably is involved in that as well, because if you're trying to escape something happening in your life where your life is in jeopardy, having all of that available to you, especially in the middle of an adrenaline dump, is probably one of the most advantageous things that you can do. And if you've already been training yourself to be strong physically, you're probably by default also training yourself to be strong mentally as well, because those two go hand in hand. So I can't stress enough how important for me that's been in my training. And I would really encourage all of you to take that very seriously, because if you ever do have to use, if you ever do have to defend yourself and or run towards or away, whatever, urgently needs your attention, then all of this comes into play. We're talking about small things like planks or kettlebell swings. We're just starting small with some weightlifting, 10-pound dumbbells, whatever it is. Just do something, like Joel said, and take it seriously, because if you consider yourself a defender of life, I think that this is an aspect of your life you should also take seriously, to be around longer for your family. Because at the end of the day, we all just want to come home safe. That's my spiel. That's my soapbox. Do you concur, Joel?
Love it. Yeah.
Any parting thoughts or anything that you'd like to say before we leave?
Oh, just keep it simple, keep moving, and yeah.
Love it. Well, you've been an absolute blessing to come on the show. Never had anyone in this space before. I love that you did keep it simple and didn't complicate it even when I tried to. So I really appreciate that. And I hope that people will take away some great things from this interview.
Thank you. I hope so too. It's been a pleasure.